Okay, I'd like to tie a Zirdle bug. This is a combination of a Zonker and a Girdle bug. It's usually tied in a size 10, maybe down to a 14. It can imitate a stonefly, or you might imitate a crayfish. This particular pattern I have in the vise is my imitation of a stonefly. If you're going to tie a crayfish pattern, you might want to use a rust-colored carapace. You might want to use an orange or a yellow chenille body as opposed to the coffee and black that I'm using. Okay, in the vise I have put a 700 Daiichi 700 hook. It's a streamer hook. It's a 4x long. And I've attached a barbell eye to it already. This barbell eye is a mini size. It's a plane. Also, I've debarbed the hook. That's important. I've super glued this barbell eye onto the hook shank, and if you'll notice, I've left a lot of room here in front because this is where I'm going to tie in quite a bit of material. Okay, for thread, or excuse me, for weight, I'm going to use a 15 thousandths lead-free wire. Start that just a little head of the point. I'm going to put wraps touching best I can. Touching wraps all the way up behind the barbell eyes. This will give it a little extra weight, but yet it won't produce a bulky fly. You can helicopter that off. And for thread, I'm going to be using a Vivus 12/0. This is in black. You can use anything from 8/0 on down. I'll start my thread right behind the lead, build up a little bit of a dam, although it's not going to move with the thread base. Then we'll come in front here and we'll try to get rid of this tag end. Okay, I'm going to lay just a little thread base up and down the shank. Secure the lead just a little more. Okay, then I'm going to take my thread and I'm going to bring it all the way down the shank to a point right above the barb. And notice the barb is gone, but that's about where it would be. Could add a little flash. I'm going to put in some crystal flash. This is a black pearl crystal flash. I've taken one strand and I've doubled it over. And I'm going to double it one more time. So I have a nice little clump of crystal flash. I'm going to take about the middle of it, and I'm going to tie it in. Then I'm going to wrap my thread forward behind the lead, pull this crystal flash back over, lash it in place. Again, right to the place in the shank above the barb. You will build up just a little bit of the body, try to get it a little bit closer to being even, the same height as the lead. Okay, I'm going to take my crystal flash, bring it forward, and I'm going to clip it off right in front of the barbell eye. Now I did that and I measured that because this is going to be the length of my carapace when I get finished. Okay, for the body of the fly, I'm going to be using some fish food, small. It's a chenille and coffee black. Okay, I'm going to hold that by one tip. I'm going to run my hand down it and feel it. Then I'm going to turn it over and do the same thing again. And if you do that, you'll be able to feel one side just a little coarser, a little rougher than the other. I want to take that smooth side, this is smooth going this way. I'm going to pinch off just a little bit here of the chenille, and I'm going to have it facing towards the rear of the fly. I'm going to wrap it in place. Now the reason I've done that, the reason I put the smooth side back, is that when you wrap this chenille forward, it gives you just a little bit different look than if you would wrap it with the coarse side back. Okay, then I'm going to bring my thread up to about the third of the way down the shank of the hook. And I'm going to put in my legs. And for legs, I'm going to be using some Life Flex. This is in a brown. Now they Unistretch or I think it's Unistretch makes a product like this. It's just a brown rubber legs, but the material they make is on a spool, and it has a hard time keeping it has a memory, has a hard time staying straight. Those I've cut 3 pieces, and they're about maybe 2 inches, 2.5 inches long. I'm going to make sure they all line up the same, going the same way, and then I'm going to tie with a fairly, not a tight wrap, but a snug wrap. Okay, I'm going to turn them around. I'll put a wrap behind them. And I'll put another wrap behind them. Okay, now I've lashed them in place. Put a couple more wraps to hold them. Okay, and then I'm going to make one wrap right next to the back side of the bundle. And I'm going to take one of these pieces, pull it back towards the rear, and tie it down. Go to the other side, do the same thing. Then I'm going to make a wrap right next to the bundle, come in front, one wrap right next to the bundle, and then I'm going to tie down the front legs. Okay, I've got my legs tied down in place. I'm going to bring my thread in front. I'll bring it all the way up in front of the barbell eyes. So if I've done this correctly, I should have my legs separated very nicely. Pull the legs over. I'm going to make about 2 wraps in front here just to hold them in place while I wrap my material forward. 1, 2, I'd like to get 3 wraps if I could. Then I'm going to let my legs loose. Make a wrap in front of the back 2 legs. Make a wrap in front of the middle legs. And then I'll make a wrap in front of the front legs. I do that, I'm going to end up then with my material below the fly. Pull back the front leg and bring my material between the barbell eyes and tie it off. This way, when this fly rides inverted in the water, as it will with the barbell eyes where they're situated, this part of the fly will be covered, will be hidden. Okay, I'll clip off my chenille. Make a couple more wraps to make sure that stays in place. And then I'm going to take my whip finisher. I'm going to make a couple wraps in there just to hold it. Okay. Turn it over in the vise. And this time it'd be a good time for me to cut off my legs. Now, how long do you make the legs? I like this to be a personal preference. If you like your legs real long, you like a lot of movement in the water, then you might want to cut them a little bit longer. If you want them short, that's again is your personal preference. Okay, I got mine just a little bit longer. Okay, now for the carapace, I'm going to use some pine squirrel. This is in an olive pine squirrel, and As you know, when you look at a pine squirrel, you can see the materials go in one direction. This is back, and I've got this towards the rear of the fly. I'm going to hold my pine squirrel up right next to the eye and go back and measure to the bend of the hook with the skin. And you can see the skin. No, that's the reason when I began, I made sure I had a barbless hook, because I'm going to run this skin right through the middle on the point. Okay, I'm going to take it out. I'm going to pull this right down next to the body. And then I'm going to put it back in the vise. Okay, I'm going to take this pine squirrel and pull it forward. Wet my fingers a little bit to separate this pine squirrel a little bit. Then I'm going to tie it down right in front of the barbell eyes. Get just a little bit more off of there. There we go. Okay, I'm going to cut it off. Make a couple more wraps, make sure it stays in place. And again, I'm going to use my half-hitch tool, or my lip finisher, and make a couple more covers there, and make sure it stays in place. Okay, for the antenna on this fly, I'm going to be using the same material as I did for the legs. Okay, I've folded it over. Okay, I'm going to tie it in place right in front of the barbell eyes. Lift it up and see if I can't get a couple wraps in front. Make sure my eyes stay clean. Okay, I'll pull the tag in there and clip it off. I'll make sure my antennae stay on top. Come here. Okay. Make sure I've got a nice head. And I'm going to whip finish it. Cut off my thread. Okay, I'm going to take it out of the vise. And I'm going to cut off the carapace in the back. I'm going to cut it the length of my crystal flash. That's why I was very exacting with the crystal flash. Okay. Okay, we'll put it back here in the vise. And I'm going to trim my antenna just a little bit. I like them nice and long. Check out. And there we have the Zirdle Bug.